What is up, guys? My name is Jason Ankin and this is my vlog channel. So yes guys, I'm going to post another vlog today. So yeah, I figured out a new way on how to basically upload these vlogs a lot quicker so I can actually make them more frequently. Basically what I was doing is I would upload these. I would basically record a vlog on my phone and I would upload it to my computer, and then I would transfer it to a video editing software, do a few pieces of editing, and then I would basically have to save it or export it in the video editing software. And that exporting process took really long. It takes about 2 or 3 hours. So I just found a simpler way of doing it, in that I record a video on my phone and then basically just transfer it to my laptop and then just transfer it, upload it directly to YouTube rather than just bypass the video editing software. It works best if I'm doing these one take videos where I'm just sitting down and talking to the camera. But if I'm doing a video that will have multiple clips, I'll need to clip them together, so it will take longer to edit that way. But if I'm doing these one take videos, it's going to be relatively quick for me to just transfer it from my phone to my laptop and then just upload it directly to YouTube. I think that's a really simple way of doing it. So yeah, this is we're on Wednesday, the first of May. May Day. The 1st of May is a very interesting day. May Day, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, today's video, so the channel basically, it's taken a little bit of time to get the channel going. I'm not noticing too many views on my channel at the minute. In fact, considerably less than what I was getting originally. So for example, I was getting at least 40 to 50 views a video last year, and now I'm barely even getting 10. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time before YouTube picks up my signal, so to speak. Once I start to put out consistent videos, maybe if I do 2 to 3 per week, after about 4 weeks, YouTube will send their bots to my channel, and basically it will start to register that I'm posting more regular content, and hopefully that should start to index my channel a little higher, and I should start to get more views and more interaction, because I haven't got many questions from people, because obviously there's only a few people watching the videos at the minute, but that's fine. It'll take a bit of time to grow and it's totally to be expected. So today I was going to talk about, so the other day I was talking about my sort of my views on the fitness industry and what I think exercise should be. So for example, I think that maybe the fitness industry is kind of artificial. It's not really, you're not really training the body in a natural way, and why I think it's more important to do more natural types of training, things like yoga, martial arts, rock climbing, mountain climbing, stuff like that, rather than sort of spending time in a gym, which can be kind of boring. You know, you're kind of in this isolated position where you're sitting on these benches and you got your earphones in and you kind of just almost blank out when you're in the gym. It's kind of like, you know, you're kind of trying to escape, but it's not really what you want to be doing. You're trying to hide when you're in a gym. You don't really want to hide, you want to be out. You know, when you're doing physical exercise, it's about a physical expression. When you're in the gym, you're kind of like hiding around, slinking about, you know, shuffling between people and stuff like that, and it's very, just feels uncomfortable. So I'm going to continue this theme and going to go into diet as well. So we're going to talk about, again, just generically what I think about diet and what I think the right diet is. It's probably going to have a sort of evolutionary element to it and sort of a human biological element to it. So I'm going to try and keep these videos to about 30 minutes, so about 25 minutes left. So yeah, diet. So there's a lot of weird trends that are happening right now in the nutritional industry, and people seem extremely confused about what the human diet is. And in reality, we have, I guess, three main competing diets. What's getting a lot of traction right now is veganism. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, you also have this strange movement towards carnivore, the carnivore diet, and even more extreme would be raw carnivore. So that's eating raw meat, and then obviously you've got the sort of happy middle ground, which is the omnivore, the individual who consumes plant foods and meat. And the sort of debate is which one is actually right. You know, people say that the vegans will say that we are physiologically designed, we're herbivores, we're frugivores, or whatever. And then on the other side of the spectrum, the carnivores will say that no, we are purely meat eaters, our physiology is designed for meat consumption, stuff like this. And then the sort of more, how would you say, the more conservative types would be saying, no, you need a balance of both. What I actually believe is that none of these diets are actually the correct human diet. And basically what I believe that the human diet actually is that we are generalists. And what this means is that essentially we can eat whatever we want, and we can basically, our body will adjust to that diet, and as long as we're getting our essential nutrients, whether we're vegan, whether we're omnivore, whether we are a carnivore, as long as we're getting our essential nutrients, our body will figure out a way to utilize those nutrients, assimilate them into our body so that we can survive. It has to do that, otherwise it doesn't work properly. So the body is very adaptive, it's very flexible with its diet as long as you're getting your nutrients. So you see, in nutritional terminology, we have this word called essential, and we also have its opposite, which is non-essential. So this is very important to understand, especially if you're going for any one of these extreme diets. If you're becoming a vegan, if you're becoming a carnivore, it's really important that you understand the difference between essential and non-essential nutrients. Too many vegans, too many carnivores, and even omnivores out there don't really understand it. It's such a simple term. But actually, if you understand the difference between essential and non-essential nutrients, it means that you're actually able to adjust and manipulate your diet in a way that you can get your essential nutrients from whatever diet you eat. So for example, essential nutrients, fundamentally it just means that nutrients that you cannot synthesize or produce or manufacture in your own body. So for example, the main sort of groups of nutrients that we have is macronutrients and micronutrients. So macronutrients are things like, macro is big, micro is small. So the macronutrients are things like protein, carbohydrates, and fats. These are the main macronutrients that you need. Most of your diet should be made up of these three macronutrients. Then you also have micronutrients. So micronutrients are things like your vitamins and your minerals. And you only have these in trace amounts. Now, the thing is, you can have essential macronutrients and non-essential macronutrients. You can also have essential micronutrients and non-essential micronutrients. So what this basically means is, essential means that you have to ingest, you have to get an extraneous source and eat it in order to acquire those nutrients. If you do not, your body cannot manufacture or cannot synthesize these nutrients, and therefore over a long-term period of time, what will happen is you'll end up nutrient deficient. Now this is the thing, in vegans they will say, you can never have a protein deficiency. And this is actually a lie, because we have essential and non-essential amino acids. So amino acids are the building blocks of protein. And because there are essential amino acids, it means that there are amino acids that your body simply cannot manufacture. So you have to ingest them. And if you do not ingest them over a long-term period of time, what will happen is basically you'll end up with an amino acid deficiency. This same logic applies to fatty acids. So things like omega-6, omega-3, omega-9. These are also classified as essential fatty acids that you must ingest because your body cannot synthesize or manufacture. As for carbohydrates, which is interesting about carbohydrates, is carbohydrates entirely is classified as non-essential. So you do not actually need to ingest any carbohydrates at all. You can survive perfectly well with 0 carbohydrates in your diet. And this is kind of aligns with the ketogenic diet or the paleo kind of diet, which is very low carb, or the Atkins diet, these sort of low carbohydrate methodologies. So carbohydrates is non-essential in general. And then you also have essential and non-essential vitamins and minerals. So if you, for example, are a vegan, it's really important that you see, this is why a vegan diet can be healthy as long as you're acquiring all of your essential nutrients for your diet. So for example, if you want to acquire all of your amino acids, you could buy an amino acid supplement, a vegan amino acid supplement, and take that maybe 2 or 3 capsules with every meal. What that will do, that will basically ensure that you're guaranteeing that you're getting all of your amino acids. So yeah, you can do it that way. You can also supplement with a vegan omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids, and you could also supplement with a multivitamin / multi-mineral. If you took those 3 supplements, amino acids, an omega-3, 6, and 9, and a multi-mineral, multivitamin supplement, you would cover all your bases, and then basically you would have a little bit more flexibility within your diet. And you wouldn't have to worry that you wouldn't be getting all of the nutrients. Obviously, I don't think it's possible to get high concentrations and high quality sources of all of your essential nutrients from just purely a vegan diet. This is why, in my opinion, veganism is kind of suboptimal for health, because you have to supplement. I think in order for you to be considered healthy. I myself, in one period of time, was vegan. I tried it for about a year, and I did this while I was also doing long distance running, and it wasn't good for my sports performance. In fact, it had a negative effect on my fitness, meaning that after 1.5 years of physical training, I wasn't even able to beat my personal best, and I blame that on the vegan diet because I wasn't able to recover quickly between training sessions. It might have something to do with the fact that I was maybe a little bit overtrained and I wasn't giving myself enough recovery. But I just wasn't fueling my body properly. I could feel like it's sort of the difference between feeding a fire with logs versus feeding a fire with twigs. The vegan diet is like giving a fire twigs. The energy burns out really quickly. Whereas giving a fire like a thick, heavy log, it will last much longer. So that's what I felt like I was doing. I felt like I wasn't getting enough long-term energy from the vegan diet, and I ended up eventually reverting back to more. I started taking more eggs, and then eventually I got back into meat consumption. The omnivore diet, again, is, I think it's the most rational, it's the most logical. There is an argument for, vegans will say that we are designed to eat plant matter, and this is not true. Our jaws have similar qualities to chimpanzees, but chimpanzees also eat meat. Chimpanzees will actually hunt So they do. And they say, the vegans will say that we don't have big claws, we don't have big teeth, therefore we're not predatory. But they completely bypass this one other thing, and it's called this part of your brain. So this area of your brain is called the neocortex. And the neocortex grew as a physiological adaptation for hunting. So the human weapon isn't our claws, it's not our teeth, it's our brain, it's our mind. We evolved a frontal cortex in order to hunt. The main faculties of the frontal cortex are things like reasoning ability, things like intuition, things like imagination, concentration, perception, memory. All of these things emerge out of the frontal cortex, and you don't need these high-powered mental faculties to chase vegetables. You need them to outwit other animals. So the frontal cortex, in all likelihood, evolved in response to hunting behavior. And also the fact that we are bipedal, we have very long legs, which is an indicator that we travel long distances. Modern hunter-gatherers that live in Africa today, for example, cover the equivalent of 3 marathons per week. That's an extremely large amount of physical activity. And because of that, we shed off our hair, and we started sweating pure water to keep our body cool during large amounts of physical activity. We wouldn't be doing this large amount of physical activity if we were herbivorous. We would be doing this because we were pursuing animals. There's a really good video. I might link it down in the description. David Attenborough, Persistence Hunting. Watch that video. I'll link it down below, and just click it and watch humans in their natural behavior doing what's called persistence hunting, and you will see exactly how humans used to hunt thousands of years ago. But on the other side of the equation, you have the vegan argument, or not the vegan argument, sorry, the carnivorous argument. And there's a few problems with this also, especially the raw carnivores, because their argument is that humans evolved alongside raw meat consumption. And this is actually a big mistake, because in human biology, there's actually evidence to indicate that humans weren't the ones that actually invented fire. Our previous ancestor, before humans evolved into Homo sapiens, was what's called a Homo erectus. And there's some evidence to actually indicate that Homo erectus actually used fire as well. So humans, it's believed, it's theorized that humans didn't actually invent fire. It's actually believed that maybe Homo erectus actually used fire before humans. So even back then, before we even became humans, Homo erectus was cooking food. So this idea that humans evolved alongside raw meat consumption is also incorrect. And it just makes sense. I mean, when you cook food, you sterilize it. It's a health and safety mechanism that can ensure that you don't get disease. Because if you find meat that's rotting, you can cook it to sterilize it so that it's safer to consume. And also research has actually shown that when you cook foods, you're already pre-digesting it or pre-breaking it down, so that when you actually ingest the meat, you actually acquire more energy from it as well. So there's actually a benefit of sterilizing the meat, and also a benefit of acquiring more nutrients and more energy from it. So that's a problem, but also that's a problem with the raw meat eaters. But on the another argument is, as I mentioned before, humans did a huge amount of physical activity in order to acquire that meat. Humans are not actually that successful at hunting. If you look at modern hunter-gatherers today, modern hunter-gatherers probably only had a 1 in 20 success rate, meaning 1 in 20 hunts led to a successful kill. Now if you compare that to other natural predators, we're pretty crap at hunting. We're very bad at it. For example, a lion, which lived in the same environment that we evolved in, has about a 20% success rate, so that's 1 in 5. A cheetah, which is the fastest land animal, has a 1 in 2 success rate, so it's 50-50. It will either make a kill or it won't. But if you look at something like what's called the African wild dog, this would actually have an 80% success rate. So 4 out of 5 hunts that African wild dogs pursue actually ends in a kill, making them the most successful land predator on the planet. So if you compare a 4 out of 5 success rate to a 1 in 20 success rate, we're pathetic at hunting. We're not that good at it. And what that would have meant is that in all likelihood we would have made a successful kill probably only once every 1 to 2 weeks. So what were we consuming in between that time frame? And the logical answer is that we would have been consuming plant matter, probably most likely in the form of starches, because starches have long-term sustainable energy. And then we would have been supplementing it with things like fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds. And then we would have made a successful kill. We would have gorged on protein. And then we would have maybe had a fast, 1 or 2 days of fasting, and then back to plant matter. And then we would have went out hunting again, and the cycle would have continued. Humans just were not that successful at hunting. So a lot of these carnivores, they're eating meat for every single meal, you know, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and they're eating it every day and consistently every week of the year, and yet they're doing nowhere near the level of physical activity that our ancient ancestors would have done. So that's naturally going to cause an imbalance. You're getting far too much rich protein and nutrients for so little effort, and that's also a problem with that diet. You're taking a diet that's far too rich in nutrients and you're not putting in the work. I mean, if you're doing 3 marathons a week in physical activity, maybe you could get away with it, but you probably wouldn't be able to do 3 marathons a week on just a pure carnivore diet. It's not ideal. Marathon runners actually sustain themselves on carbohydrates, and that's actually an interesting sort of parallel when you look at sort of modern marathon runners, is that when they're doing their sport, they need carbohydrates to sustain their activity levels. So in the ancient past, it might have been the case that when humans were out hunting, which would have been the equivalent of ancient marathon running, it's plausible that they would have sustained their long-term physical activity levels on things like carbohydrates and starches to keep them going rather than fueling themselves in protein. You know, you're not going to be gorging on tons and tons of meat with loads of fat and protein and then going and running a marathon. It's just not going to, you're going to create a lot of what's called gastrointestinal distress. You're not going to be able to digest it properly. Carbohydrates is a much more simpler form to break down. So the logical sort of diet in opposition to these two extremes is kind of the reconciliation of these two opposites, which is the logical omnivorous diet. But the problem with what I would say personally is that none of these sort of labels really matter. It doesn't matter whether you're a vegan, it doesn't matter whether you're an omnivore, it doesn't matter whether you're a carnivore. Humans are generalists. And what this means is basically we can adapt to any diet as long as we are getting our essential nutrients from our diet. So if you eat a carnivore diet and you're getting your essential nutrients, you're going to survive. If you're eating an omnivorous diet and you're getting your essential nutrients, you're going to survive. If you're eating a vegan diet and you're getting your essential nutrients, you will survive. The body's very adjustable. It's very malleable. It will adapt to basically whatever diet you consume. Now the argument is which will lead to a better quality of life, which will lead to a longer life expectancy. And the only real answer to that we currently have is the diet that leads to the longest life expectancy. It has nothing to do with veganism, it has nothing to do with omnivorous, and it has nothing to do with carnivorous. The key to long-term survival seems to be in caloric restriction. So you could be a vegan that eats 2,000 calories a day, or an omnivore that eats 2,000 calories a day, or a meat eater that eats 2,000 calories a day. And because you're eating that low calorie threshold, that could actually contribute to you living longer, far better than the quality of the diet that you're eating. Now, obviously, you want to ensure that you're eating a calorie restricted diet that, again, has your essential nutrients. This is absolutely fundamental. So the argument of, we already know kind of with research that calorie restriction is kind of the best long-term diet for long-term survival. People who eat a calorie restricted diet live longer. I've got 5 minutes left. I haven't got enough time to talk about why calorie restricted diets. But essentially, calorie restricted diets basically put less stress on the body. If you're eating less food, there's less of your energy is being directed to the digestion process. Digestion requires a lot of energy. So if you're eating less food, your body's using less of that energy for digestion. And as a consequence, that additional energy that you gain from eating less food can be used for other things, i.e. growth and repair. So it can repair your nervous system, it can repair your organs, it can repair your muscles, it can repair your bones, etc. But the most important thing is to remember is to ensure that you're getting your essential nutrients, whether you're a vegan, omnivore, or carnivore. I actually think the carnivore is probably the most extreme, because it's very restricted. It's almost very abstinent of a lot of things. But I would also argue that the vegan diet is pretty extreme as well, but you could probably work with it a lot better than you could with the carnivore diet, because I think you're really going to cause huge amounts of cholesterol buildup, because simply you're just not using that energy. You're not doing the physical activity levels that our ancient ancestors would have done. So eating meat all the time is just going to be very dangerous. The World Health Organization has shown that red meat is a carcinogen. You're basically decreasing your life expectancy. But the key is to increase your life expectancy is calorie restriction. So if you work on those couple of variables, make sure that you're getting your essential amino acids, make sure that you're getting your essential fatty acids, make sure you're getting your essential vitamins and essential minerals. And if you can do that with any one of those three diets, you'll be healthy. But then also make sure that you're not over ingesting too much. I actually think the dietary recommendations to 2,500 calories for men is too high, and 2,000 calories for women is too high. I would actually prefer to see it at about 300 calories less. So maybe 1,700 for women, 2,200 for men. I think that's a bit more, I think that's healthier, because you're naturally going to be leaner because of that. Less calories going into the body means you're going to have more energy to sort of use that for other processes. So that's my basic little rant about diet. Again, I always think of these things in terms of human evolution, human biology. What have we evolved to do? What are we designed to do? Rather than just sort of generic health and fitness. So yeah, I'm going to cut it off there. Remember guys, if you have any questions that you want me to answer, post it down below and I will get back to it in the next video. Remember to follow me on Instagram at jason.ankin. You'll be able to find it in my about section on my YouTube channel. And yes guys, my name is Jason Ankin and this is my vlog. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.